code manually.
I'll be here tomorrow too then.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, you can adjust this feed rate and plunge speed, basically our cut speed and plunge speed, as plunge rate, plunge speed. These units mean virtually nothing. They're all scalars. They mean they have no relation as far as that goes, as far as an actual usable measurement, as far as I can see, because they've never had a prefix or suffix on it. So, for doing a foam, this is fine. For doing a wood, this is not. If you try to do this speed and plunge speed with wood,
break.
your bit will snap. The reason why the bits snap is they're high carbon steel.
Too much pressure.
And high carbon steel holds an edge extremely well. That's why they're used in the edges of knives and stuff. Particularly in the edges of Japanese katanas. Now, we'll bring up katanas in another bit. So it is actually somewhat related to this as far as bit speed, but they do not flex at all. So when you try to, focus on this. Say this is your drill. You have the drill in here. If you try to bring it like this, it'll snap instantly. It'll snap very, very quickly, and it'll go flying.
Break someone's face.
The bits are very strong, like this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use the right speed, they will never fail on you. Those bits, as far as I know, last freaking forever. They are ridiculously strong. The only time they're really ever dull is if you try to cut like a really hard material like aluminum, which if you get the coated bits, they won't dull. They will snap if you go too fast. This will control the speed of your cut as well as the step over speed. Which is another reason why that time estimate's a lie. So yeah. We'll get back to this. Now, it'll also display your position. But we'll get to that. Alright, so setting up a manual toolpath here. You have machine hole stock, which is the stock's what your billet. It'll machine it all. And this is also where you get the spacing around the material. Like if I just want it, if I want to have any space around this thing, around the doom thing, I'll have to set it up in here. If I want to have any space around it so I can just cut the part out, I'll have to add that over here. And I'll show you about that. So, unless you want this thing to be perfectly stuck all around those edges and you have to take a bandsaw, do not. If you have it set up correctly, it'll actually cut this out perfectly, and you'll have no bandsaw work to do, no cleanup at all. You actually don't even have to do sanding if you get this thing set up properly, which is nice. That's all about step over. But as far as getting around it, that's machining hole stock and machine geometry plus. Arc fitting, if you're doing anything with curved surfaces or stuff, the STL you get from Inventor, and you try to stick it in here, sometimes will not come out with a curve properly, or will do various stepping, because it does it in layers. So if you enable arc fitting, it'll do the curved surfaces much better. It won't view them as separate layers, it'll actually link them together and it'll do curved surfaces nicely.
Are we too loud for you?
What?
Are we too loud for you?
Oh, no, that's fine. So, yeah. Go ahead and just generate a toolpath with this, and we'll go back and hit this whole geometry. So, go ahead and click OK. Much smaller than the tool diameter. This is a thing that comes up. That is also kind of a lie, because it's not much smaller than tool diameter. It's actually larger than tool diameter. So, we can, okay, it's actually still at 0. Yeah, so we'll adjust that real quick. So, okay, and it'll start calculating. Now, we'll apply geometry. And see, here you go.
Now the M's there, sort of.
Now the M shows up much nicer. And there you go. You can actually show what the individual operations do. And by clicking these various operations, you can choose to remove options like say I set this up to cut wood. You know, I had the rough operation in there, but I don't want to take all. I don't have time for the rough operation. I'm cutting foam, so I don't really need it. I can just unclick rough operation, and it will remove that from the toolpath that I saved. I can take off waterline finishing.
Because if it's straight up and down,
You can take off parallel. You can even take off pencil, and then it won't do anything. And then you can prank whoever is cutting nothing. So I could just remove pencil. I could remove parallel, and you'd still get something. And you can tell the difference. In see that cut in 8.3 minutes. If I add those two, it'll get cut in 12 minutes. If I remove the rough operation, it'll cut in 8. If I remove the waterline finishing, probably cut in like 2 minutes. Or okay, 8.7. But yeah, you can add or remove things from your actual toolpath and process. The rendering on this is quite nice, but you'll notice. If you notice, it doesn't cut out around this at all. See that? How it just leaves the original, like if I go back to showing geometry, it doesn't cut around this at all. And that becomes a problem when you're trying to actually physically cut things out on that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into how you set that up on the actual machine as far as, you know, how you want to protect the aluminum build surface of that. So, yeah. And we can go ahead and, because this isn't cutting around it, and we obviously don't want that. We want it cutting around it. So we'll go back to this, and we'll do, I think machine hole stocks. Yeah. Those. Okay, that isn't quite around it. Okay, so go back here. Machine hole stock or machine geometry plus, and we'll do like half an inch. Okay, it's okay. That's what it's doing. All right, so let me fix that. This does take some playing around with. We'll do machine geometry plus it. Let's do a full inch or an inch and a half or something. Let's do a full inch, just to kind of exaggerate it. Maybe it'll show up on camera. We'll disable arc fitting because we don't need arc fitting because there's no curved surfaces. Alright, there's actually removing material, so.
How big is it scaled to? Is it scaled to like a piece of wood that would go in there, or?
Right now, how big is this?
Yes.
The only time the measurement will actually show up in this entire thing is when you're sticking it in. When you're actually opening the file, it'll give you the approximate size. Well, actually, the exact size, but yeah, that's the only time the size really shows up. You can. There are some various tools in here that will come in handy, mainly setting max depths and stuff. You can actually add holes, like if you really wanted to.
If you're doing
if you're doing the vacuum form, you could add holes to this. Alright, but that's easier just to do by hand.
You can just drill it through by hand.
Yeah. So.
You don't want to make a hole in the aluminum plate on the bottom either.
Yeah, which we'll talk about how you avoid doing that, even if you're cutting below the height of your build.
Oh yeah,
how
you put like extra piece of wood underneath it, or
you don't use wood. You put a block. You basically tape this block or this block. Let's take this block. You tape this to a piece of foam, which you then tape the foam to the build surface. It'll cut into the foam.
That's a good idea.
And that will prevent you from cutting into that aluminum surface. Which, in all honesty, it is okay to cut in that to an extent, but you want to avoid it at all costs. You want to avoid it, but if you do cut into that, it isn't the end of the world.
Right, because it'll still function, but
Yeah.
it's just to be avoided if possible.
Yeah, it'll still function. It's just
It's just.
and also it could, depending on your cut, it could leave that surface uneven,
Yeah.
which is also very bad. So yeah.
And then the following people who use it will be mad at whoever did that.
Yeah. So we can set a machining region. do that. I could just click, and I just machine that. Theory should just do that. I haven't really used some of these features on here. So let's go ahead and generate toolpath. Okay, let's see what that does. It should just... Yeah, okay. Now, what I just did is I set it so it only cuts out this.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can set it up so it only cuts part of the entire thing.
So you download something, but you don't feel like cutting everything else. So
Yeah,
you only
like say you only wanted a specific portion of something. Like
someone makes a file and they have like 3 objects on it. I'm gonna stop this.